Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com. Today, August 29th, 2021, is my 60th birthday. And as a special birthday bash, I'm going to do what any good critic does. I'm going to bash something. In this case, the bashee is going to be Anthony Collins. The Anthony Collins box on eloquence. But before we get to that, and I know you're looking forward to it, I'm going to frustrate you because it's my birthday and pontificate just for a couple of minutes. So if you want to bear with me, fine. If not, feel free to skip over whatever pontification I happen to be prepared to emit at this moment. I've just been thinking about two things. First of all, now that I'm 60, I am officially a curmudgeon, a proud curmudgeon. I've been a curmudgeon since I started reviewing records, which was when I was basically 19. So it's been 41 years of curmudgeonliness. But I wasn't officially a curmudgeon. And people would say, why are you talking like that? You're so critical. You're such a curmudgeon. Well, now I'm an authentic curmudgeon, or altacocker, or whatever you want to call me, in whatever language you want. And I'm so happy that I have actually and unapologetically joined the curmudgeonly ranks, and I can do it with pride. Yes. Yes, indeed. So yes, that's one of the benefits to being 60. The other is just a little thought on the critical profession, because I got some unbelievably hostile and nasty messages, which of course I delete immediately, saying things like, who the hell do you think you are attacking such and such a composer or such and such an artist? They're creators. They make things. You're nothing. You don't do anything. You just criticize what they do. I just have to say this because that kind of stupidity really, really bugs me. It doesn't bug me because I get called names. I don't worry about being called names. I've been called names ever since I was a little kid and ever since I started writing criticism. That comes with the territory. What bothers me is the idea that criticism is not a creative endeavor. The fact of the matter is that writing criticism or producing these videos is every bit as creative, is every bit as much a performance, is every bit as artistic, if you want to call it that, is anything any performer does. And that is a fact. And so on this, my 60th birthday, as an official curmudgeon, I want to say screw you to all of the people who don't think that what serious critics do is not art, is not valuable, does not exist on the same plane as any of those who we are criticizing. So there. And now, with that in mind, it is time for the birthday bash of Anthony Collins, a genuine conductorial mediocrity who, for some reason that I just do not understand, has been given all kinds of accolades. And you know, and I know, there are plenty of artists who are unfairly neglected, who deserve to be. I just said we should have a box for Thomas Shippers. Some people who were wonderful, wonderful artists who, for whatever reason, never got the attention that they deserved from the record labels. But there are just as many who got plenty of attention and didn't deserve it. And Anthony Collins was probably one of them. I really believe that. He just is so ordinary, or worse. And this eloquence box, beautifully released, I have to confess, it was done because, as we know, he has a following. He particularly has a following for his Delias recordings, which are wretched. They are just abysmal. They are horribly played. They aren't so well recorded. That's another thing, by the way, about audiophile nonsense. All we hear is, the original Decca FFRR, full frequency range recordings. It's another piece of crap. Some of them were good, some of them sucked. Most of these sucked. They just sound lousy by today's standards. They sound lousy by the standards of anything that came later, and by some of the stuff that was being done contemporaneously. They really do. There's all kinds of problems with balances and screechy strings and missing timpani. Part of it is just the horribleness of the playing. Now, Collins was a violist. He played in the London Symphony Orchestra, the band with which he made most of his recordings. He actually spent a good bit of his career in the United States, in Hollywood. He was a very talented and very successful composer of film music. He was a composer generally. It would be interesting to hear some of his original works, as long as he's not the conductor. And he made, well, what do we have here? 14 records. And let's talk about what they are. Some of them are worth having. I will tell you that right now. But a lot of them, no. I'm going to go through the booklet. These are very nice boxes, by the way, that Eloquence produces. There's no question you get like original jackets, no matter how hideous they were. And my God, these record jackets in the 50s, they were so freaking ugly, too. My God. I'm telling you, I'm not holding back on the curmudgeonosity. It's all coming out. So, first, Mozart, Symphony No. 33. He was the founder, by the way, of the London Mozart Orchestra. It's a perfectly decent Mozart 33. Is it better than, like, Neville Mariner? No. Is it interesting to us today as being competitive with the best that's out there? No. Is it okay? Yes, it's okay. Along with one movement, the minuet of the Divertimento in D major, K334. Isn't that exciting? Next, you get the clarinet concerto and the bassoon concerto with the London Symphony under Gervais de Payer. Lovely, lovely performance. And the bassoon concerto with Henry Hellertz, which is also quite good. I mean, they're good. Collins was fine as an accompanist, but so are a million other people. If you want the soloist, you get it. And Collins is there for the ride. He's around. Next, Mozart Piano Concertos 14, 25, 26 with Friedrich Gulda. Now, of course, everything Gulda did was really kind of interesting. He was a wonderful pianist, and Decca just released the big Gulda box, the complete Decca recordings, which will have these. And so, I'll be talking about the Gulda box. So there's lots of ways to get the Gulda stuff without having to get the Collins stuff. And it seems to me you might be better off getting the Gulda stuff with Gulda, because you get 2 Beethoven sonata cycles and all kinds of other nifty items. So that's those. You also get the Mendelssohn Piano Concertos 1 and 2 with Peter Caton. And Peter Caton was a fine, fine pianist, and these Mendelssohn concerto recordings are perfectly decent. Very, very good. Are they as good as Sirkin? No. Are they as good as Thibaudet? No. But they're good. They're very good. And then Collins is okay. He's there. He's along for the ride. Finally, let's see, Rachmaninoff. Oh, yes. Oh, there's more Gulda. Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto No. 3 with Maura Limpany. Yes, all the Limpany people were groping after that performance for decades. It's a famous Limpany performance. I have never been all that fond of it myself, but I recognize that Limpanists, yes, I think Limpanists is the word, will definitely want it. But you do get the Strauss Burlesque, also with Friedrich Gulda and the London Symphony, and that's fun to have. And as quite a coupling for the Rachmaninoff Third Piano Concerto. Yeah, it's a 54-minute CD. Wonderful performances, and Collins is fine. He's fine, just fine. But then we get Paganini Violin Concertos 1 and 2 with the young Ruggero Ricci. Ricci fans will want that too. Of course they will. And who can blame them? They are fiery, they're exciting, they're fun as hell to listen to. I enjoy them. I really do enjoy them. Ricci's terrific, and Collins is a very able accompanist. So I give him props for that as well. But then we start to get to the Collins does other things that don't have the distraction of a soloist. And then we run into trouble. First, Bizet, the Carmen Suite. Okay, who cares? It's not great. It's just average. And then Faya, the suite from El Amor Brujo. I don't understand what happened with these recordings. They're with the London Philharmonic. They were recorded, let me see, in 1950, and for both of them. Yeah, 1950. There's no timpani. I don't mean faint timpani. I mean no timpani in either work that I can detect. Maybe very faintly in the background. I don't know what happened. It's such a strange sounding recording. I mean, how could you do these pieces without timpani anywhere? Anywhere. I mean, El Amor Brujo is such a great timpani part. You've got the Dance of Terror, dum, bum, 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 bum. And then the very end with the bells. Da, 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 bum, bum, ba, dum, bum, 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 bum. Nothing. Zippo! And the performances themselves, the interpretations are just dull, especially the fire. The fire is really droopy, incredibly droopy. You also don't hear the cellos. There's some wonderful, wonderful moments. Tchaikovsky was recording this at the same time. Of course, he reorchestrated it. But boy, did you hear the string parts. What was Collins thinking? I have no idea. So there's that. Then we have, let's see, Tchaikovsky. Oh, these are awful. The Capriccio Italian and Francesca da Rimini. They're just awful, awful performances. They're with the London Symphony. They just sound like hell. Let's get things straight. Let's talk tachlis, as we say in Yiddish. The LSO in the 50s was bad. They were so many European. Even the Vienna Philharmonic wasn't very good in the 50s. They were rebuilding after the Second World War. All of these orchestras were. The circumstances were difficult. They have reasons why they were bad. But let's admit it. They were bad. Yeah, they got better. They got much better. Good for them. They got better. But boy, they sounded lousy. And no FFRR was going to make them sound good. The Capriccio Italian, it just sounds so tinny. And the Italian bit, it's absolutely Francesca da Rimini. I mean, hell froze over for this performance. Yeah, you know the expression, right? When hell freezes over, this is what it sounds like. It's frozen hell. Collins was, in some ways, the very model of a modern sort of English stereotypical conductor, not a real one. A stereotypical, the kind that have like no passion at all. I mean, I have never heard a less passionate Francesca da Rimini. It's quick, but it has no intensity whatsoever. And it's not fair to British conductors because, Colin Davis was one of the most passionate conductors you'll ever hear in your life. I mean, it's just not true what they say about English conductors. But Collins, he was a mechanismus. He was mechanical. He beat time. That's what he did. He was the English version of a Kapellmeister, a time beater. And that's what he is in these Tchaikovsky performances. Even the booklet notes, which are normally, they're very, very positive for Mr. Collins. And let's see who wrote them here. Let's see. Here it is. Peter Quantrill. He says that the Tchaikovsky was not as convincing as his Bizet and Faya. Well, given the fact that those weren't convincing at all, let me tell you, they were not convincing. No, I was not convinced, and you won't be either. Then we come to the Sibelius stuff, and let me say this. You get all the symphonies, the Karelia Overture, some Pochiola's Daughter, Peleos and Melisande movements, and they just, Night Ride and Sunrise, oh my God, it's a mess. What a mess that thing is. It's just dreadful. They're simply dreadful. The playing is awful. Listen to the end of the first movement of the Fifth Symphony with its missing timpani and the scruffy playing. And there's stuff missing. There's horrible ensemble. The interpretations themselves, the first symphony goes best, I think. After that, all hell breaks loose. Just in every symphony that has multiple movements, there's one sort of major misjudgment. The finales of the fourth and the sixth, the central movement of the third, which is way too quick. I reviewed all of these on Classics Today Insider with sound clips. So if you're an insider, you can go read those reviews if you want. But they are just bad. And it pains me pain to see people who either imprinted on these performances and so stubbornly think they're wonderful, or who, are believing the cant that we get from the Collins people or the aging critic people or the everything that the English did was wonderful people who just suck up to this stuff. I mean, it is not possible to enjoy Sibelius, to love Sibelius, to collect Sibelius, and to think that these performances are any good. That's a fact. I'm just telling you that, dogmatically. You cannot like these performances if you really care about great interpretation and playing in the music of Sibelius. You might enjoy them once in a while as a change of pace for a technical fillip or something that he does that's interesting or exciting, compared to everybody else. But on the whole, as a cycle, this is the worst one out there. It's also, I think, the first one done by a single conductor, but it's just awful. And again, it's a historical fact. It's not a musical fact. And all I care about as an official 60-year-old curmudgeon is musical facts. Yes, these are facts. The badness is not a matter of opinion. It's a fact. So there you go. All right, moving right along. We have 2 more CDs. There are 14 discs here. CDs 13 and 14. First, there's some Delias. And the Delias is actually the best thing on the disc. Collins was a good Delias conductor. He understood the music. He performed it with a certain amount of lightness and flow and, not Wagnerian sounding at all. I really like these Delias performances. I liked them conceptually, and I think he got much better playing from the London Symphony than he did in the Sibelius cycle. I wonder if they came later. Maybe the orchestra was in better shape. Let's see here. Well, no, Delias here is 53. No, I think they came before. I actually think they came before. Sibelius was, wait a minute. Let's just see here. No, 55. Yeah, that was later. But for whatever reason, the Delias stuff, I think, it just goes better. It may be because it doesn't have rhythm. Maybe because you can sort of slide around in terms of ensemble and get away with more. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's the way Delias wrote. But what you get is in a summer garden, Summer Night on the River, and then you get, let's see what else here. Wait a minute. Here we go. A Song of Summer, The Walk to the Paradise Garden, Brig Fair, on hearing the first cuckoo, because you have to. You have no choice. And Paris, which is terrific. I love Paris. It doesn't ever get played. The Song of a Great City. It's a gorgeous piece of music. And Delias always loved Paris, I guess because it had happy memories for him. It was where he caught syphilis, most likely. And then finally, let's see, no, not quite finally, there are 2 pieces with Anthony Collins, by Anthony Collins, one called Vanity Fair and the other called With Emma to Town. These are light, charming, and utterly ephemeral. Utterly. But nice to have. And like I said, he wrote a couple symphonies, he wrote a violin concerto, it's all here in the booklet. I didn't know that. I'm really happy I did. Maybe somebody will do some of those works and we'll get to see. I mean, the guy was a polymath. He was a wonderful film music composer. He was a good string player. And apparently he was a composer and a conductor. He didn't do all of those things equally well. So getting to hear his work as a composer will fill in the polymathematical picture of Mr. Collins. But the real treat for me is Facade, the famous Facade with Dame Edith Sitwell herself as the reciter. I've got a picture of her on here, which is kind of, oh, there she is. I love this picture. Look at that. Those were the days, weren't they? Look at that hat. Holy crap. Yeah, there she is with Peter Pears. Now, Sitwell is Sitwell. She is inimitable. I mean, after all, she wrote the poetry. And Peter Pears is kind of interesting. Even his speaking voice was interesting. He kind of sounds like, those English sports announcers, like soccer or football matches. There's a method of delivery for British sports announcers. It's kind of what you might call a strained, tension-filled monotone. And now they're moving down the pitch, and he shoots. Oh, it's a goal! He scored. It's all on one level like this all the time, and they talk very quickly, and it's like this. That's what Peter Pears sounds like. He sounds like he's doing a soccer match, and we're waiting for him to score, for somebody to score. Does he score? Well, he did with Benjamin Britten. Just kidding. No, it's a wonderful Facade. It's lots of fun. And if the delivery is somewhat stilted and stiff, well, so is the poetry. That's kind of the point, isn't it? So Collins conducts the small ensemble. He does it marvelously. I have no qualms giving him credit. But of course, he's not the star of the show. The stars of the show are Dame Edith and Sir Peter. And that's a lot of fun. It's very good to find a home for this recording of Facade because, it's sort of bounced around a little bit and it came and went. And I really think it should be readily available. Now, you may not want to get an entire box of fairly uninteresting and not very well conducted other stuff by Anthony Collins just to get Facade. But it's there. Perhaps you'll be able to download it. I don't know. It exists. It's out there. It's nicely done. I mean, I do feel in my curmudgeonly way somewhat guilty for trashing or bashing, pardon me, it's a birthday bash, such a beautiful production. And it's historical, and there will be people who won't care about the quality of the music making within. And if you're buying musical things for extra musical reasons, then knock yourself out. This is your baby. You're going to love it. But if you really care about the music, if you're one of those people who doesn't know the music well, or you're trying to get into it, or you want just the best performances, then you should avoid this like the plague. And you really should. People have all kinds of reasons for buying things and for liking things. And far be it from me to deny their validity. The only validity I deny is the musical reason. The musical reason, it's just not good. I'm sorry to say it, but delighted to be able to say it as my first official curmudgeonly statement. So keep on listening, folks. It's been a joy so far. I'm looking forward to the next 60 years. Take care, and thank you so much for joining me.